Maman died today. Or yesterday maybe, I don't know. That's how the stranger begins. Not with grief, with indifference. Albert Camus wrote a story about a man who refuses to pretend. He doesn't cry at his mother's funeral. He doesn't invent a reason for murder. He doesn't beg for meaning when he's sentenced to die. He refuses to perform emotion, refuses to lie about what he feels. And society cannot forgive him for it, because the truth is unacceptable. Not that he killed a man, but that he didn't care. This is The Stranger, the story of a man who told the truth and died for it. His name is Meursault. He lives in Algiers, works a meaningless job, exists. When his mother dies, he doesn't cry. At the funeral, people watch him, waiting for tears, for collapse, for something. He feels nothing. He notices the heat, the light, the discomfort of his clothes. But grief? No. Not because he hated his mother, not because he's cruel. He just doesn't feel it, and he won't pretend. The next day he goes to the beach. He meets a girl. They sleep together. She asks him, "Do you love me?" He says, "No, but it doesn't matter." She's confused, but she stays, because at least he's honest. He moves through life like this, not depressed, not angry, just indifferent. He eats, sleeps, works, watches the world from his balcony. Coffee, cigarettes, swimming, small pleasures. No ambition, no grand purpose. Life happens to him, and he accepts it. And you felt this, haven't you? Going through the motions, feeling strangely detached from your own life, wondering if something inside you has gone quiet. Meursault is that feeling, made flesh. One Sunday, Meursault goes to the beach with friends. There's tension, a dispute, Arabs, a knife. They leave. But later, Meursault goes back, alone. The sun is brutal, not warm, violent, pressing down on him, white, blinding, unbearable. He walks along the shore and sees one of the Arabs from earlier, resting near a spring. The man has a knife. Meursault has a gun. For a moment, nothing happens. They stand there in the heat. The sun burns into Meursault's forehead. The light off the water, sharp, relentless. Sweat runs into his eyes. The Arab shifts. The blade catches the light. A flash. And suddenly the light, the oppressive, merciless light, becomes unbearable. Meursault pulls the trigger. The shot shatters the silence. The man falls. A pause. And then Meursault fires again, and again, and again, and again. 5 shots, into a body already dead. Later, when asked why he did it, Meursault says, "It was because of the sun." Not revenge, not hatred, not even self-defense. The sun, the heat, the light, the way it pressed down on him until the moment broke. He's not inventing an excuse, he's simply describing what happened. There was no grand motive, no hidden meaning, just a trigger pulled, a man dead, and the indifferent sun overhead. And this refusal to invent a reason, a story, a moral explanation. This is what society cannot accept. The trial begins, and immediately something feels wrong. They're not talking about the murder, they're talking about the funeral. The prosecutor stands. "Did you cry at your mother's funeral?" "No." "Did you feel grief?" "No." "Did you love your mother?" "Yes, like everyone else." Stop. Listen to what's happening. The prosecutor isn't building a case about the murder. He's building a case about Meursault's soul. This man smoked at his mother's vigil, drank coffee, showed no emotion. The very next day he went swimming, started an affair, laughed at a comedy. Gentlemen of the jury, this is a man with no feelings, no morality, no humanity, and a man with no soul is capable of anything. That's the case. Not evidence, not motive, not even the murder itself. Just this: he didn't cry. And if you don't cry at your mother's funeral, you must be a monster. The jury agrees. Death sentence. Not for killing a man, for feeling nothing. Prison. Meursault waits for execution. Days blur into weeks, weeks into months. He thinks about the beach, his mother, the girl. Small memories, nothing profound. He's waiting to die, and he's bored. One day the chaplain visits. He means well. He wants to save Meursault's soul. Don't you want to repent? For what? Don't you believe in God? No. Don't you want your life to mean something? And suddenly, something breaks. For the first time in the story, Meursault feels something. Rage. He grabs the chaplain, shouts, "Nothing matters. My mother is dead and it doesn't mean anything. I'm going to die and it doesn't mean anything. You and your God and your certainties, none of it means anything. And I've been happy. Do you understand? Happy." The guards pull him away. The chaplain leaves. And Meursault is calm. Exhausted, but calm. For the first time he understands something. He lies in his cell, looking at the stars through the window, and he thinks, "I open myself to the gentle indifference of the world. The universe does not care. It never did. His mother's death means nothing to the stars. His murder means nothing to the ocean. His execution will mean nothing to the sky." And strangely, that realization isn't tragic. It's freeing. Meaning was never written into the universe. It was something we invented to make the silence easier to bear. Society demands that story, insists on it, punishes anyone who refuses to perform it. But Meursault refuses, and in the final hours before his death, he becomes free. In his final moments, he has one wish. He hopes there will be a crowd at his execution, and that they greet him with cries of hatred. Because their hatred will prove something. They need him to be a monster. They need the story to make sense. And his refusal to give them that is what they can never forgive. Here's what makes Meursault unbearable. Not that he killed, but that he felt nothing and refused to lie about it. We live by performance, cry at funerals, show remorse, claim our lives have meaning. These are the scripts we follow, the quiet agreements we make with each other. Meursault breaks the script. He says, "I felt nothing." And for that, we want him dead. But Meursault isn't a monster. He's a mirror, showing us what we might look like if we stopped pretending. How much of our grief is real? How much is ritual? How much meaning are we performing because everyone else is? Meursault is terrifying because he's honest, and honesty about meaninglessness is difficult to face. Camus isn't telling you to be like Meursault. He's asking a question. What if the universe really is indifferent? What if meaning isn't given to us, but something we create? And what happens if we stop pretending otherwise? The Stranger is the story of a man who refused to lie. Society executed him, not simply for murder, but for honesty. Because when someone looks at grief, guilt, meaning, everything we rely on, and says, "This is empty," we call them a monster. But maybe Meursault isn't the monster. Maybe he's the only one telling the truth. And the question he leaves us with is simple. What would your life look like if you stopped pretending?